Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to CG Rated Books. So we are going to we're going to do this again. This is the bookstore, the used bookstore challenge that was submitted to me by Kevin Towle. I've already done it. I know, but I admitted I have already stated that I was going to do it again, and I am so glad that I did. And my experience was outstanding. Was outstanding. I was so shocked by the response that I got for doing the used bookstore challenge a second time. It's the second time I've done it, but I've done it in three different locations. So this is the used bookstore challenge part two. All right, so I'm completely shocked. Friends of the Keller Library. This is a used bookstore that ends up getting its books mostly from the Keller Library, which is one of the neighboring cities where I live. And uh, I found out after this visit that this particular library is the library that actually donates books to the free library at the clinic that I frequent often. At least 2, 3 times a month, I'm there at that clinic checking out those books and probably walking away with a title or two. And now, after having done this challenge again, I find the supplier for that free library. And it's got me crazy because uh, Linda, Lisa, and Hallie are outstanding people. These are the librarians that volunteer at the bookstore. And they have set me up with something. This one is going to be long. The original challenge video was small. I ended up walking away with two, but this particular time I ended up walking away with I'm breaking them down into categories. I am going to share with you these. I broke them down into two separate stacks. Actually, I'm gonna break them down into three groups. Yes, we are going to deal with fiction and nonfiction categories. And yeah, I guess I need to go ahead and get started, and then I am going to tell you about this bookstore in Keller. And I so hope that you guys, if you're anywhere near this bookstore, you've got to visit. So let's start. Uh, I can't even. I've got so many titles to share with you guys. Bear with me as I try to explain to you what I have. We're going to start off with The Odyssey of a Purple Heart Vet. This is James Willis. This is the first title that I received. Okay, and now remember, the bookstore challenge is you walk in and you ask if the receptionist, the bookstore clerk, the librarian, wherever the title is that they hold there, you ask them if they would be willing to participate in a challenge with you, and ask them if they would be willing that if you give them $20, that they would pick a selection of books for you to read. And I got a chance to talk to Linda and Lisa and Hallie and explain the situation to them, and they were so ecstatic and so excited. They thought it was the best idea in the world, and they were so excited. So of course they asked me, so how does this work? What are the parameters of this challenge? And once again, I mentioned, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of romance, But the only real stipulation that I'm going to hold you guys to is that you guys have to pick the book. And if you participate in this challenge, you pick the book, and I have to read it. I have to accept it. And so several times during this thing, how do you like this one? They pull a book off the shelf and they look at it and show it to me and says, what do you think about this one? Do you want this one? And then, of course, Linda would come running up behind him and say, it doesn't matter if he wants it or not. He's not allowed to pick. They had so much fun putting this list of books together. It's hilarious. It was hilarious. I had a great time. Anyway, back to the list of books. So for $20, and I told him, I didn't know how much the prices were going to be. I told him, I said, I'm almost willing, depending on how many books I got, I'm almost willing to even go over 20. And I didn't need to go over 20. I'm about to say, well, maybe I should only buy a book for. What if I gave you $10? Anyway, The Odyssey of a Purple Heart Vet, James Willis. This is the Chronicles. This is following through with a young man who ended up joining the military. Raised on farmland, joined the military during the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War, and this is a very intriguing story about his life and his path towards the Purple Heart. So, yes, extremely interested in reading this one here. Of course, Christian man with plenty of experience with firearms prior to going into the military, raised on a farmland by a loving father, and yes. Purple Heart story. So, James Willis, The Odyssey of a Purple Heart Vet. And then we're going to move on. I went in wearing my one of my civilian U.S. Army shirts, and it resulted in some of the influences on some of the books that I've got. How many people remember Time Life books? They did a lot of series on different things throughout the history of the United States. And this one here is about the American Civil War. More chronicles on the events of the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. Look at the crafting on this book. Isn't that just marvelous? Brother Against Brother is the name of the title of this book. Part of the Time Life series, books on the history of the United States. Look at that cover. And of course, it's completely fully illustrated. I tried to practice this before I got on here, but it's completely illustrated, and it's got a whole bunch of things, but this is a lot of stuff in here. I never really thought to address it like this before, but this is about the disunited states. But the graphics and the art, the photography that's in this book is just superb. And mainly a lot of short blurbs, but so much narrative, so much information about the American Civil War. So I ended up adding this one to my collection. It's in hardback with embedded printed hardback cover. The illustrations on this book is magnificent. So that was book number 2. Now an insider's guide to Alaska, right? Now this one here is we got color maps, wildlife narratives in here. We have wilderness lodgings, how to lodge and survive across the Alaskan continent, Alaskan state, and from one edge to the other, chronologing a lot of wonderful information about Alaska. Another nonfiction title, and I believe this was it was a naturalist here, uh, John Murray. John Murray. John Murray. Great book. I've already started going through most of that stuff that's on there. Then we also received another nonfiction field guide to all of the Texas wildfire flowers. And yes, this includes several pages on the state national flower, the state flower, state national flower, state. Did I just say that? State national flower. But yes, wonderful photography in it, chronologizing all of the wildflowers in the state of Texas. So that was book number 3. Book number 4. There's 4 books already. Kids Cook 1, 2, 3. So he asked me, "You like to cook?" This was so out of the 3 ladies, I think Lisa, was it Lisa? Yes, Lisa picked the most of the titles for me and was just so studious. She's the one that usually does all the cataloging on the shelves and so forth. So she was far more familiar with what was present, and she had plenty of ideas. I mean, she was zipping all over the store. He was like, "Okay, let's go over here to this section. Oh, no, come on, let's go over here to this section." And so Kids Cook. And I've already gone through the book several times already. And there are several recipes in here that I actually do want to try. And so it starts off chronological. It starts off identifying your pantry, how to set up your pantry, ingredients. Gives you a little bit of an instructional, take, and then learning your cooking terms, and then it breaks into recipes, and they are not difficult at all. So I am very excited to go ahead and start dipping into this, especially right after I kind of wish I almost got it sooner, because we're going into, it's Thanksgiving week, right? So yes. Yes. All right. So that was my list of nonfiction books. Now we're going to get into the fictional titles. We've got Julia James and Bedded by Blackmail. This is a Harlequin romance. She said, okay, so Lisa was, okay, so you say you're not a fan of romance, right? I says, no, not really. She says, but you still have to accept what I pick, right? This was the last thing she picked up. She said, you gotta have to have a romance novel. You gotta have to have a romance novel. And so she went and grabbed this one. Now, this one here is, we've got this individual. He is Diego. He's a sexy South American billionaire, and he is completely convinced that everything and everyone can be bought. So this young heiress who falls penniless, he ends up going after her and pursuing her and using his money to blackmail her into his bed. Yes, Harlequin. This was a Harlequin Presents, but it's still part of the Harlequin Romance collection. Okay, so okay, so here's one by Fern Michaels, and this is called Under the Radar. And this one is kind of touchy, controversial title. This is about a retired justice of the peace Pearl Barnes runs an underground railroad for abused and displaced women. And there's a group of women who have been working together. They're friends or something. That part was kind of hazy. But Pearl ends up calling them up and saying, hey, look, I just came into possession of a large group of pregnant girls who were being sex trafficked. And they're part of some underground, secretive polygamy sect. Polygamy sect. Yes. And so she helps, she charges the other ladies in their group to try and keep these young ladies safe and tucked away. But they, and not only that, but somebody in their, the compound where they work, their mentor disappears. There's an alarm that goes off, and they come running down to the main office, and they find out that their main mentor is being stuffed into a helicopter and flown away. And shortly after that, Justice Pearl ends up giving them a call and saying, hey, look, I need your help. We got these girls. We got to get them protected and hidden away. And that's how the blurb ends. Doesn't tell us any much more than that. So all the sisterhoods need to band together. Lord, where's my vocabulary? They need to band together and help protect these young ladies. All right, and then we got Journey to the West. This is a graphic novel about Chinese literature. Oh my gosh, so many titles. Okay. So this is a story about the Monkey King and one of his young apprentices, right? Monkey King is a historical. Where is my vocabulary? A historical character, folklore character, and while he's traveling, getting all of his spiritual teachings and stuff together, the group that's traveling with him, he ends up finding magical powers, and he's kind of like a Loki character, and so this is kind of where I believe he becomes the Monkey King, following this Buddhist monk. So it's a pretty good title. The art is pretty good. I like the art. So we've got Journey to the West, graphic novel, and of course Kevin will like this one. Kevin, how you doing? Yep, Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets. This is deep into the analogy of the Harry Potter series, and yep, I don't really need to explain this one. This is a popular title, and folks know Harry Potter. So yes, I now own my first and only title from the Harry Potter series. I've watched the movies, but have never read any of the books. So pretty sure I'm going to enjoy that. Then we've got John Grogan, Marley and Me, and this is about a couple coming into the possession of a young Labrador pup who grows into some 90-pound, 95-some-pound uncontrollable fluff ball. And this is the story, kind of like memoirs. It's a novel, but it's a story about their life growing up and having to deal with this very rambunctious, oversized pup that's completely hard to control. So there's that. Some good ones now. Let's get into the good stuff. Right? Sapkowski's Sword of Destiny. We all know who this guy is, right? Geralt, the Witcher himself, none other. This is I don't know if I have to even explain that one, right? Do I have to tell y'all about Geralt? I don't think I do, right? He is the Witcher. epic fantasy tale adapted to Netflix, um, played by none other than the Superman, the best Superman of all time. Did I just say something very controversial? I think I did. I think I did. But Henry Cavill is dropping out of the movie adaptation, right? The television adaptation. He's dropping out because they are moving away from the traditional storyline of the novel. So he doesn't like what they're doing with the character. So he's not going to come back. But yes, so Sword of Destiny, part of the Witcher's series there. No need to explain any further than that. And I believe this is also something else that you guys are familiar with. This is part of a series. This is not the first one in the series. I think there's a total of 12 books in this series. And this is a Virgil Flowers novel. He's a detective. And this is John Sanford's Bloody Genius. And basically this story is on a college campus. There are some rival departments, and a death happens, murder happens, and they bring in Virgil Flowers to investigate the crime, and finds out that these are some very impassioned individuals that are slightly crazy, and he's dealing with these conflicting departments at the school, trying to figure out who committed this murder. So that's my list. That's my list. That's insane, right? That's a lot of books. And all from the Friends of Keller Library Used Bookstore here in Keller, Texas. Thank you for joining me today. Please tell me about your experience. I know that there's quite a few of y'all that have read some of these titles. A lot of these are kind of familiar or popular titles. So yeah, drop some comments in there. Talk about your experience, and why don't you think about what you're going to type into the box while you watch this short clip of the Friends of Keller Library. Until next time, you guys keep reading.